The Outworlds Alliance. Neatly sandwiched between the Federated Commonwealth and the Draconis Combine, the two greatest military powers in the Inner Sphere, the Outworlds Alliance maintains a precarious balance between economic solvency and military weakness. Forced to rely since its inception on strategic negotiations to survive as a realm, the Alliance has alternately prospered and declined according to the strength of its leaders. The recent rise of Mitchell Avalar to the Outworld's presidency bodes well for the future of this periphery state. Though bandits continue to cause widespread economic hardship and property damage to the worlds of the Outworlds Alliance, an increase in the literacy rate and viable industrial initiatives seem likely to finally pull the state out of its decades-long teeter on the brink of dissolution. Financial and commercial support from houses Davion and Kurita have provided the needed impetus for native manufacturers to jumpstart the local economies, and President Avalar seems determined to make the most of the Alliance's natural resources, manual labour, mineral resources, and the will to survive. Origins and History. Historians trace the inception of the Outworlds Alliance to the Alpharats colony, founded in 2413 by a former Davion officer, Julius Santiago Avalar. Like many other Inner Sphere emigrants at the time, Avalar and his followers fled to the periphery to escape the near-constant conflict that plagued the Inner Sphere during the Age of War. Avalar's pleas for an end to the wars found a receptive audience among many residents of the Inner Sphere, and soon thousands of immigrants began to arrive at the colony. Eventually, the settlers began to spread to neighbouring planets, prompting Avalar to form a government to oversee the new settlements, which he christened the Outworlds Alliance. For the next 100 years, the Outworlds Alliance existed in relative peace, relying primarily on skillful diplomacy to maintain its sovereignty. Midway through the 26th century, however, the members of the newly formed Star League turned their attentions toward the periphery realms. In 2571, the League forced the Outworlds Alliance to accept garrisons of Draconis and Terran hegemony troops, ostensibly assigned to protect the Alliance worlds from pirate activity. Unable to resist this occupation, the Agrarian Alliance worlds complied. Later that year, on the planet of Santiago, tensions between a Draconis garrison and local residents erupted into a riot that claimed the lives of 27 civilians. The so-called Santiago Massacre triggered hundreds of anti-Star League riots on dozens of periphery worlds. Such incidents, combined with the territorial ambitions of Star League leaders, led to the Reunification War in the latter half of the century. The war reached the Outworlds Alliance in 2581, when Star League and Kurita forces attacked and easily captured a number of Alliance worlds, which they proceeded to occupy with brutal efficiency. The Alliance government was unable to resist the invasion by military means, and so it shrewdly enlisted the aid of another Star League member state, the Federated Suns, to soften the blow of Star League occupation. Exploiting Davion's suspicion of the Draconis Combine, Alliance leaders offered Davion leaders several strategic border worlds in exchange for protection against the invading Kurita and Star League forces. As a result of the secret agreement, Davion forces quickly landed on numerous Alliance worlds. Officially, the Davion troops occupied the planets as invading armies under the auspices of the Star League. In reality, the Davion forces simply garrisoned the worlds to deny the Kuritan and Star League invaders access to those planets. In 2585, with no decisive end in sight, the Star League terminated the war against the Alliance by negotiating the Peace of Cerberus. In the years that followed the Reunification War, the worlds of the Outworlds Alliance shared in the prosperity that emerged throughout known space, and by carefully exploiting the tensions between its two powerful neighbours, the Federated Suns and the Draconis Combine, the Alliance remained a non-combatant throughout the Succession Wars. Socio-Political Structure. Ratified in 2417, the Alliance Charter provides a framework for the streamlined representative Outworlds Alliance government. While acknowledging the right of House Avalar to hold executive power, representatives of the Alliance citizenry must agree unanimously on legislation before such proposals can become law. Likewise, the Charter established planetary representative bodies, known as planetary parliaments and judicial courts of appeal, which protect the rights of citizens from government abuse. When the Alliance military was created in the mid-2800s, the Alliance Charter was amended to include a fourth governing body, the Alliance Military Review Board. The Charter's provisions guarantee all citizens of the Alliance freedom of expression, freedom of religious belief, and the right to pursue any lifestyle or economic pursuit that does not infringe on the rights of other citizens. Alliance citizenship is granted at birth, and immigrants may be naturalized after a 10-year residency, and demonstrable proof of productivity in society. Outworlds Alliance Military. As might be expected from the realm's pacifistic origin, the citizens of the Outworlds Alliance have traditionally shown very little support for a standing military force. Both the conventional and battle mech force suffers from a lack of adequate training and substandard equipment, two contributing factors to their near constant defeats at the hands of the Periphery pirates. The Corps' relatively small size also inhibits its effectiveness, as units are assigned only to important political and industrial worlds, with standing orders never to abandon their posts for any reason. Though an amendment to the Alliance Charter gave President Avalar authorization to hire mercenary units to expand his military ranks, the pay the Alliance offers attracts only the most desperate mercs, who often turn out to be no better than the pirates they were hired to defend against. Reflecting an attitude common to many people who are unfamiliar with the actual requirements of sustaining any type of military force, the citizens of the Alliance readily agreed to establish and support an aerospace presence, apparently under the impression that fighters cost less than battle mechs to purchase and maintain. This misconception allowed the Alliance government to create one of the most effective aerospace forces in known space. Well equipped and faultlessly trained, this arm of the Alliance Military Corps enjoys far more mobility and greater latitude for initiative in its actions than the conventional and mech units, so much so that other Periphery realms regularly request permission to borrow the Corps' aerospace instructors to improve their own military effectiveness and hire retired Alliance aerospace officers for their military colleges. Though the Alliance manufactures enough fighters to supply their own needs and to export a sizable number every year, they lack Star League technology, and still fit their aerospace units with weapons whose designs are a century old. The governments of the Canopus Concordat Alliance have promised to supply the Outworlds with the rediscovered tech, but have so far failed to deliver on these promises. Mitchell Avalar has made the acquisition of such technology a priority for his realm, as up-to-date weapons systems would provide his own military and increase the value of units manufactured for sale. Structure of the AMC. The structure of the Alliance Military Corps allocates many of the normal functions of military divisions to local planetary parliaments, or the Alliance Military Review Board. The AMC breaks down into just 3 distinct branches. The Alliance Aerospace Arm. Until recently receiving the lion's share of annual fiscal appropriations, the Aerospace Arm is charged with first-line defense of all Alliance homeworlds. It consists of 4 fighter regiments, which in turn are composed of 3 wings each. A wing is composed of 3 combat flotillas of 3 lancers, which consist of 2 fighters. A separate command wing brings the total number of fighters in each regiment to 60, for a total of 240 aerospace fighters of various types. Though many of these craft are the salvaged remnants of previous conflicts, some 60% are less than 2 generations old. The Aerospace Arm also commands 12 jump ships and 24 drop ships, which deploy the AMC's Mechanized Corps forces when not engaged in aerospace support. Alliance Ground Defense Arm. The Ground Defense Arm is divided into 2 separate forces, the Planetary Militia and the Mechanized Corps. The Planetary Militia consists of those citizen militias designated strictly for home defense. Its function is not to contest the invasion of the world, but to tie up attackers' resources and pin them in place until reinforcements arrive. The Alliance Mechanized Corps consists of 2 battle mech regiments and a regiment of armour and motorised infantry. 2/3 of the Alliance battle mechs are light, consisting mostly of Wasps and Stingers, and the rest represent an assortment of medium and heavy mechs produced on Alpha Rats. Alliance Service Arm. The Alliance Service Arm is a polyglot corps, containing all non-combatant services found in any military. Most of these services are meagre, however, due to their shortage of equipment and of dedicated long-term service personnel. The AMC Medical Corps is generally ineffective and relies heavily on local support from civilian institutions.